Hi, this is Diana Steinbrink, Teaching and Learning Coordinator at ESU 10 in Kearney. I'm going to walk you through a quick introduction to the Nebraska College and Career Ready Standards for Science. As always in education, there are many acronyms to go along with anything we do, and that's no different for the language in our new standards. So they have three domains. We used to call them strands. In our 2010 standards, we had four strands: life, earth, physical, and inquiry. In our new standards, we had three domains: life, earth, and physical. Inquiry was embedded into our standards through the science and engineering practices so that it would be happening on a daily basis as part of science rather than a chapter or a unit during your year. Then we have the PIs, which are performance indicators. In the next generation science standards, they call them performance expectations, but we wanted to stay with that consistent language Nebraska's used, so we're calling them performance indicators. There are three dimensions in our science standards. One of them are the CCCs, cross-cutting concepts, the DCIs, disciplinary core ideas, and the SEPs, science and engineering practices. So the need for new standards comes about, for one, from our legislation. We have a revision cycle that has been moved to every 7 years. So at the end of those 7 years, we revise our standards. And this year, it was a little bit different, where instead of a revision, we did more of an overhaul of our standards. And the reason being is our old standards were really based off this one-dimensional idea of very discrete items, all about really memorizing facts and vocabulary. And our old standards, they were just very simplistic in the nature of these are the things, the ideas, the content you need to know. Really lacked the inclusion of those engineering pieces and those science skills and the literacy behind it to make students really see what it's like to be a scientist versus a memorizer of information. So our new standards were based off of the 2013 Next Generation Science Standards. We edited them to be, lack of a better word, Nebraskanized. And those standards, though, NGSS was built off the K-12 science education framework, which really had a lot of good research on what does it mean to be a science literate student and to really know what it means to be a scientist. And a lot of that came to the science and engineering practices and the cross-cutting concepts with those discrete pieces of information of your content. So really developing our students from being someone that just learns about and just sucks in all this information given by the teacher to being the ones that are figuring out. They're the ones doing the science and being part of it. And so our new standards have a lot of big changes, and probably the biggest one is there are no longer grade band standards. We are now grade level K-8. So we took kind of a page out of the math and ELA where their standards are grade level standards. And so that's what we did through 8th grade. So 6th grade has its own set of standards according to kind of the research behind cognitive ability and understanding. So more concrete ideas in 6th grade compared to 8th grade, the more abstract ideas in physical life and earth science. So each year there is at least one topic of the 15 that are in each. So there's at least one earth science, at least one physical science, and at least one life science standard in each of those grade levels. We added in engineering. So the engineering can either be embedded, so it's part of an indicator, or it may be an engineering connection where it's an actual engineering solution or design solution for a problem that exists in some way. Another big change where the indicators were no longer one-dimensional with just content. Now they are three-dimensional. And you've heard me say topic. We arrange standards by topic now. So, like I said, there are 15 topics divided amongst the 3 domains, and I'll show you what that looks like here in just a moment. Also included in our standards are Nebraska connections, civic connections, and then computer science connections. Our standards are going to ask our students to gather evidence from multiple sources, analyze evidence to describe and explain natural phenomena, communicate understanding of the content using a variety of tools and strategies. So students are doing and figuring out. They're going to construct explanations and use argumentation. Those are both science and engineering practices. And it's really going to ask your students to work collaboratively as a group. We talked about one of the big changes being 3 dimensions. So in each standard, you will see that there is an underlined part called, and that is the cross-cutting concept. There will be a bolded set of words or one word, and those are the science and engineering practices, and the rest of that is surrounded by your content, your disciplinary core idea. So we still have our standards, which is the gather, analyze, communicate will be in each standard. And then the indicators really get down to what is the performance-based statement that explains what your students are going to be learning in that content area and how they're going to be doing it, and then how are they going to be thinking about it using that cross-cutting concept. So the design, the anatomy and architecture of our standard starts with the content area, which is science, whatever your grade level is. And then they have what the topic number is here. So some grades have topics 1, 7, and 15. And some grades have topics 2, 10, and 12. And so that's the number that's right here. And then what standard it is in your grade level, and then what indicator it is. So here's an example of what one would look like. So my standard is the gather, analyze, communicate evidence of forces and interactions. So right here, the 1 is because this is topic 1, forces and interaction, standard. And then here I have my indicators, and these cue what our assessment is going to be built on. So here are those 15 topics. So we have 5 physical, 5 life, and 5 earth science topic. And they are going to be spiraled throughout their career, kindergarten through high school, based on that cognitive understanding of students and what they can really do and those connections between each grade level. So it's really, really important that elementary teachers are teaching these science concepts.